Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a sensory journey into Italy's absolute most authentic time of year. I want you to completely forget the crowded piazzas of July and that stifling, unbearable heat of August. Instead, we're looking at a time when the entire country just completely transforms. It's driven by ancient rhythms, incredible food, and some really deep cultural traditions. Okay, let's dive into this.
Because when most people picture a trip to Italy, they're envisioning peak summer travel, right? But is summer really the best time to go? The truth is, while tourists are flocking to the coasts in July and August, they are completely missing out on Italy's hidden, authentic sweet spot. And that sweet spot is October. Now, this isn't just about escaping the summer price tags or dodging massive crowds. As our source material reveals, October consistently draws really high numbers of visitors for a very specific reason. It's a time of massive transformation, where the focus shifts away from catering to outsiders, and instead the country turns inward to celebrate its own rich agricultural and historical roots.
I absolutely love this quote from our source. October is the month Italy celebrates itself. So the crucial point is that the events we're going to explore today, they aren't packaged up for tourists. Not at all. These are genuine, local gatherings rooted deeply in the autumn harvest. Every single region, every town, and honestly, every tiny village finds a reason to gather in the main square. And, well, as you might expect in Italy, that reason is almost always food.
Section 1. The Visceral. Celebrating the autumn harvest. Let's start with these earthly delights. To truly understand Italy in October, you've got to understand the local food festival, which the Italians call a Sagre.
Get this. Italy hosts an incredible 2,000 of these local Sagre every single year, and a massive proportion of them hit their absolute peak right in October. It all kicks off with the Vendemmia, the grape harvest. But listen, this isn't just a single event. It's a living, breathing process happening all month long. Wineries across Chianti, the hills of Barolo, and even the dramatic volcanic slopes of Mount Etna literally invite people to participate directly. You're out there picking grapes, you're tasting the fresh, unfermented grape juice known as mosto, and you're experiencing a connection to the land that you just simply cannot replicate in the spring or summer. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer impossibility of what's actually being celebrated here. We're talking about the white truffle, specifically the tuber magnatum pico, which happens to be the most expensive food ingredient by weight on Earth. Alba, up in the Piedmont region, hosts the most famous festival from October through early December. And here's the kicker. You cannot farm these white truffles. No way. They are completely wild. They have to be foraged at dawn in the woodland by highly trained dogs and certified truffle hunters. The Alba Festival brings all this together with a massive world market, cooking demonstrations, and these wild, unusual dinners in castles. It is literally the absolute pinnacle of global food events.
Beyond the vineyards and the truffle woodlands, there is the incredibly beautiful, highly rhythmic, and physical day of the olive harvest. It starts with the morning picking, where you're spreading nets under trees that might literally be thousands of years old. Then, you pause for a long communal lunch with wine, naturally. Then, more picking in the afternoon. And finally, the evening trip to the local frantoi, or mill, to press the day's work. What comes out is this vividly green, intensely grassy extra virgin olive oil that tastes completely different from anything you'll ever find in a supermarket. It's this honest, fleeting pleasure poured straight over toasted bread, and it's only available for a couple of weeks a year.
But hey, not all harvest festivals are just about the food itself. Some are tied to some pretty incredible history. Take the Sagre dell'Uva in the town of Marino, just south of Rome. For 455 years, they've been celebrating Marcantonio Colonna's victory at the 1571 Battle of Lepanto. And they celebrate in a way that is honestly hard to believe. The town's famous Fountain of the Four Moors genuinely flows with real white wine. I'm serious, that is not a metaphor. The fountain actually pours wine for the thousands of people who gather there, while locals parade through vines draped over every historic building, all dressed up in 16th century attire.
Now, if you want something even more hyperlocal, you've got to head to the Chestnut Sagre. These are rustic, unassuming community gatherings that have been happening for centuries. Just imagine walking into a village like Marradi in Tuscany or Piagaro in Umbria. The air smells exactly like wood smoke because chestnuts are roasting over open fires in these traditional iron pans. You're eating chestnut pasta, chestnut soup, and trying this special cake called castagnaccio. Local wine is just poured generously, completely without ceremony, while live music plays right there in the piazza. It is the absolute definition of authentic community.
Section 2. The Refined. Music, Film, and Culture. Because October in Italy isn't solely about earthy harvests and village bonfires, the country also transitions into a season of elegant, high culture,
and a truly refined autumn atmosphere.
Just consider Venice. By October, the crazy summer crowds are gone. The canals are quiet. You get these stunning, misty, golden mornings. And right in the middle of this peacefulness, Teatro La Fenice, one of the most historically significant opera houses in the entire world, opens its season. Imagine catching a world-class opera in this incredibly ornate, gilded 18th century theater, and then just slipping out into the cool evening air to find a local Baccari bar, coming alive with locals enjoying small plates of cicchetti. It's a deeply luxurious, genuinely memorable cultural experience.
The cultural calendar really just explodes in October. Down in the capital, the Rome Film Fest brings international premieres right to the public, actually integrating screenings across city venues rather than locking them behind closed industry doors. You've got the Roma Jazz Festival celebrating the city's deep post-war jazz roots, and the Roma Europa Festival showcasing avant-garde contemporary arts. But honestly, perhaps the most visually striking event is Luca Comics and Games. Hundreds of thousands of pop culture fans, cosplayers, and gamers completely take over one of Italy's most pristine, stunning Renaissance-walled cities. The contrast between those medieval stone towers and vibrant modern pop culture is totally unique.
Let's move to October 4th and see how this builds into the national rhythm of the country. October 4th is the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, which is a confirmed national public holiday in Italy. And this isn't just a day off work, it prompts massive nationwide religious processions, particularly centered around the Basilica di San Francesco in Umbria. For anyone observing Italian culture, understanding this holiday adds a profound layer of authentic context. The entire country just pauses. Domestic travel spikes, and small towns with Franciscan traditions hold their own vibrant local markets.
Section 3. The unexpected, unique, and historic traditions. So we've got the food, and we have the high culture. Now let's explore the wonderfully quirky and historically rich events that truly define October's secret season.
Take l'Eroica, for example. This is an incredible vintage cycling race in Tuscany, and it actually started back in 1997 as a local protest to stop the government from paving over Chianti's beautiful white gravel roads, the Strade Bianche. Now, to ride in this, you must have a pre-1987 bicycle. You have to wear vintage wool jerseys and shorts. Absolutely zero modern gear is allowed. Watching thousands of cyclists who look exactly like they just stepped out of a 1950s photograph, winding their way through golden October vineyards, it's just visually spectacular.
Or consider the Sagre del Tordo in Montalcino, which is famous globally for its prestigious Brunello wine. In late October, the town commemorates a centuries-old tradition of thrush hunting. The townspeople dress up in full, elaborate medieval costume. There are actual archery competitions in the streets, and it all culminates in a legendary communal banquet right there in the main piazza. You're sitting shoulder to shoulder with locals, feasting on pappardelle al cignale, which is this amazing pasta with wild boar, and you're drinking world-class Brunello.
Section 4. An authentic Italian Halloween. As we reach the end of October, we find perhaps the most surprising adaptation of all. Let's look at how Italy has uniquely embraced and transformed this tradition.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between experiencing something commercially and experiencing something historically. Mainstream Halloween often relies on artificial decorations, suburban streets, and, packaged commercial thrills. But the Italian Halloween, it is completely different. It utilizes 14th century medieval walled cities, ancient stone passages, and genuine documented 16th century history. It is naturally atmospheric. It doesn't need to fake the eerie factor because the environment itself is already authentically chilling.
There are two destinations that just perfectly capture this vibe. First up, Coronaldo in the La Marche region, which has officially named itself Italy's capital of Halloween. Its narrow, cobbled streets and 14th century defensive walls become filled with floating lanterns and bonfires, genuinely eerie without being tacky at all. Then you have Triora, a mountain village high up in the Ligurian Alps known as the City of Witches. Why? Because it was the site of extensive, real-life witch trials between 1587 and 1589. Every October 31st, they lean into this dark history with late-night festivals and processions through stone passages that need absolutely zero fake decorations to feel terrifying.
October in Italy really is a revelation. It's white truffles in Alba, opera in Venice, vintage bicycles in Chianti, and ancient witches in Liguria. The advice from our sources is clear. If you are planning to experience this secret season, definitely book your major events and accommodations early. But crucially, leave room in your itinerary.
Leave some blank space for that hidden local Sagre you might stumble upon that nobody told you about. Because the real magic of this explainer is the realization that the best parts of Italy are the ones the locals keep for themselves. So I'll leave you with this thought. If you found yourself wandering the Italian countryside this October, which hidden village celebration do you hope you'd unexpectedly stumble into?